Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It is fantastic to have you here on part 8 of working on the sword breaker. Not the first sword breaker, the second sword breaker, because the first one broke. The irony is beautiful, but the second one is shaping up that way too. I'm so thrilled with how this is going already. We made a piece of Damascus. We sent it off to Jason from Fireball Tools. He water jet cut this thing out on his 5-axis water jet cut machine. It's looking beautiful. The next step is put ourselves a bevel on this thing and then start working on the tang. We have so much to do, but before we get into it, let's thank today's sponsor. Today's episode sponsor is Skillshare. Skillshare is the online learning community that has over 25,000 video courses in everything from business and photography to marketing to illustration to watercolor. You can learn it all on Skillshare. It's a great way to learn a new skill, add it to your resume or your CV, be able to do more in your business and make more money, especially because you're going to get 2 months of Skillshare for free when you go to my link in the description. 2 months of Skillshare for free. You can see all the courses you want in that time. It helps support this show, and the premium membership after that is only $10 a month. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring the video. Let's jump right into it. Thank goodness you're back. We're going to be using a little bit of Dykem. Putting it on the blade, this means that we can scratch a line through this layout fluid, exposing the shiny material underneath, giving us a very clear indication of where it is that we want to grind to. That's what this layout fluid is for. It's essentially a paint or a dye. I'll sometimes mistakenly call this transfer blue. It's not that. Oh no! I have no idea where the transfer blue is. But transfer blue, instead of setting into a dry finish, just like a blue Dykem would, it still stays a little sticky, and so you use it to see where there are high or contacting points. Slightly different things, but they're both the same color. In that time this is dried, it's on to the other side with our beloved blue Dykem. Feels like home. I actually have my order of operations all jumbled up. I was getting set to scribe a depth line for our bevel. That's the wrong way of doing it. Remember, of course, in the last episode, we have a slightly off-center bevel there. So I've got to go onto the grinder. I've got to bring down this edge, this entire edge, to the point that it lines up with the center line. Otherwise, it's impossible to get the bevel to meet in the center. You see, we now have a much bigger flat spot on the edge. It is now time to scribe it all over again. Still about 15 thousandths of an inch too far out that way. Back to the grinding room. Oh my goodness, that is so close. There are the two scribe lines, and that second one is right on the edge. Okie dokie, so we have our centerline scribe. So important to me. Why do I say to me in particular? Well, that's because I haven't ground a bevel in a while. Will is an expert bevel and knife grinder, and so, you know, for somebody like him who's been, you know, who's ground a lot of bevels, he can eyeball it down and he will get that thing bang on. For somebody like me, however, or somebody that's, you know, at the beginning of this stuff, being able to have scribe lines to work to makes things so much easier to get a consistent and accurate edge. I ran up here to get these dividers so I can mark out that edge bevel. Okie dokie, it is go time.
as you can see, I have a file guide on here. There are carbide faces on this which aren't touched by the grinder, and I'm using them to line up my plunge line. The plunge line is this transition between the flat ricasso part of the blade and the bevel, making sure that they're lined up evenly this way, hugely important. The way to make this happen is taking it slow and feathering yourself in, and just taking all the time in the world, and that's what I'm doing. All of that plunge line work there was a 120 grit ceramic belt. It's now on to a Trizact belt, A100.
We've got the bevels nicely roughed in, finished up to a decent standard. I think it's going to be on to stones and hand sanding, but I'm going to take the opportunity now for us to have a moment's silence for my left index finger, because it is quickly becoming a really nasty index finger. We have a nice big old scar here, some weird thing going on there. Got a nasty cut on the tip of it a few months ago, and of course, as you saw in the last episode, we have this lovely gangrenous thing which is starting to develop as a result of a 60 grit belt on the belt grinder. And so, as I name this finger now Murphy, we'll just take a few moments. Okay, thank you. Back to this project. Next up on the agenda is this back here. So, of course, on the one side, here, where we had to bring down the edge to get to the center line, this ricasso area had to get shortened by about a 1/16 of an inch. That means we have a difference in length from here to here, then here to here. I don't know if that's the problem that's making me think something is off, or if it's just that this point is too tall and we need to taper it down, but this feels off. First course of action is going to be taking it down right here. If it still looks funky, how many times can you be wrong in one video? Okay. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring down the top, bringing down the top of that little tooth here. We're gonna see how it looks then. Okie dokie, there we go. If I hold up the ruler to the teeth and bring it down, it's just bang on. The taper is right there. There is just the slightest bit of light coming through, which is very good, because it shows we are close to following the taper of all these teeth, because all these teeth are different sizes. This one here is about 7/8 of an inch. This one here is about a full inch and a 1/16 or so. And it is now following that line very well. I'm just not 100%. I'm not 100% happy with it. I think that there is something that needs to get done. Okay, I think it's the tang. I'm gonna grind down that tang. We're gonna see if making the distance between here and here, the same as here and here, solves our aesthetics problem. Next on the chopping block, this little hump here. Okie dokie, we got that fixed. Looks a lot better. Now we've got to find something else to do to it. You see we have a rectangular peg and an ovalized hole. I'm gonna round these corners. We're out of the grinding room, and look how much further the guard fits up there. Now Will is the man that knows how to fit a guard like nobody's business. So I'm gonna let him fit this guard the rest of the way up there. Meanwhile, I wanna try out some of these stones for myself. Now, Will said they were no good. I used them a little bit on my fiance's engagement ring, and that tiny little bit that I used them on the gold made me also think, maybe not quite the right application, but I wanna try it on some steel, and I'm gonna give you my verdict. This is a 220 grit stone. The aim is to even up my grind lines, get the scratches going in this direction, put some oil on, and give it a go. First impression, it feels like it's really cutting quite well. Like it's biting. There's a lot of friction to my strokes. So first impression is good. Now the feeling of friction, the feeling of it biting, probably doesn't have a whole lot to do with whether it's actually cutting better than the sandpaper. After a few moments work, we have a lot of scratches going this way. We also still have the original grind lines. Let's try some sandpaper. This is 240. Uh-oh. I think we've got ourselves a clear winner. I definitely don't get the impression that the sandpaper is cutting more. It slides more easily. It's not making this grinding sound that makes you imagine you're grinding up that steel and ripping it out of there, but I think I just removed so much more material than the stones. It's had some rough hand sanding, and we're gonna end the day. It has been a good day. I'm thrilled with how this is looking. I am especially thrilled with how it's feeling, because that distal taper we worked on in the last episode, along with that ground bevel, is starting to turn this into a very light and nimble blade. Before we finish the video, let's thank today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Today's episode sponsor has been Skillshare. Skillshare is the online video learning community with over 25,000 online video courses for you to learn all sorts of skills from. And what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about Adobe Illustrator. It's a program for drawing things on the computer, and it is so useful. If you have a laser cutter, if you have CNC router, what have you, you want to make designs that you can cut out on that. Or if, like me, you want to be using computer-aided design to make symmetrical designs, beautiful designs, easily modify designs, and get a good idea for what your project is going to look like I've been doing on the Swordbreaker, Illustrator is an incredibly powerful tool for that. And if you go to Skillshare, there is a course called Mastering Illustrator that is going to give you a great fundamental lesson in learning Illustrator, getting savvy with it, meaning that you can speed up your production process, make more beautiful things, and have more fun while doing it. So be sure to go to Skillshare and get yourself 2 months of Skillshare Premium for free. Now, Skillshare Premium is usually only $10 a month, and it allows you access to all 25,000 courses. It's phenomenal. It's unbelievable. Be sure to check it out. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. It's been a pleasure as always. Thank you guys for supporting our sponsors. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.